to talk with you today about toxic relationships. Toxic relationships could be relationships with family, friends, professional, or intimate relationships. And they are emotionally damaging to us. And so when you're in a toxic relationship, oftentimes we don't see what's happening real time. We kind of have this kind of shade or this film over our eyes where we don't really see it. Others around us may see it, but for some reason we don't see it. And so let's talk about what it could look like. So it could be very controlling, very one-sided. So there's no balance in the relationship. There's a lot of give on one side and a lot of take on the other side, right? It's not balanced at all. Every encounter you have with them is draining. You literally get done and you feel exhausted and depleted because you've given so much, or it was just so much to have a conversation with them. Whatever it was, it just drained you, and it can cause stress. Another thing is there's a lack of support. So where you show up for them and you're there and you listen and you're there for them, but then it doesn't necessarily happen on your side, and they don't show up for you, and they're not there for you, and so the support is not there. They project their insecurities on you. So, it's something that maybe they pick out that they have an issue with, but they may project that on you, and they may fixate on that one thing to the point where you actually begin to feel insecure about yourself because they're constantly saying this thing, and instead of you saying, wait, that's not my issue or that's not me, you actually own it or you internalize it because they keep saying it about you. There's no accountability for their actions. So they don't take ownership of anything that happens. Oh, this wasn't my fault, or you made me do this, or, anything like that. It's always somebody else has to take ownership of it, where this got messed up. My life was so bad, but none of it was my fault. Everybody else did it to me, right? That's no accountability. Mistrust. So, you have this person present in your life, but you don't trust them. But for whatever reason, they're still present and you still give a lot of energy to that person. That mistrust grows in you. They're manipulative. So they know how to get you to do what they want. They know how to get you to feel bad or to give in to them. They manipulate you. There's a lot of resentment in the relationship. You can resent them and the same on their side, right? But for whatever reason, we can't break it apart from them. We still have this relationship. And then there's like jealousy that comes in. So again, I think that goes to some of the insecurities and the projection. There's a jealousy there that kind of comes out. Pay attention to people who, those that are jokingly saying things that you're like, there's something behind that. Pay attention to those things. It comes out in different ways. Again, the biggest thing is like this relationship is exhausting and depleting. It's something where you're drawn to it. You're there for whatever reason. Sometimes we feel very obligated to relationships, whether it's especially if it's family. We feel very obligated because that's family. But that person is toxic. That relationship is draining. It is pulling something out of you. Every time you have an encounter with this person, it's negative. All your positive goes out the door when you talk with them, when you are in the same room with them. You avoid them sometimes, right? You see them calling and you're like, I can't talk to them. I don't have it right now. I can't do it. Or you see them at a function or somewhere and you're like, I don't want to talk to them. That is a sign that that's a toxic relationship. And so let's talk about what the impact that it has on you. So it can damage your self-esteem. When we're constantly around someone that tries to control our behavior, our feelings, projecting their feelings on us, we then internalize that, and that can damage our self-esteem. Boundaries. So clearly we have no boundaries with this person because they can freely kind of put all that negative energy out there. They're trying to control the relationship. They are, there's no empathy. There's no thought about your feelings, your thoughts, any of that. It's just me, and what I need out of the situation. And so that means that we don't have good boundaries with them. So we have to then insert our boundaries, and we have to say, hold up, this is not appropriate. This is not okay for me. And it's interesting because we will have boundaries with everything else and everybody else. But when it comes to that person, nothing. All rules go out the window when we get to that person. So, with them, it's like, I don't have boundaries. But then you have to learn how to insert those boundaries or create boundaries with them. In a toxic relationship, right? Any day you can say, this is enough, and I want to change this. And that's when you start to create those boundaries. and you say, this is no longer okay for me. Unhealthy expectations. So again, when you're showing up for them, when you are expecting this person to be there for you the way that you are for them, and they don't do it, we have this, but we know that they're not a person that shows up. We know that they're not trustworthy, but we still put that expectation that they will be there. That's an unhealthy expectation. And then, behavior changes. So eventually it spills over into you, and it alters you and your behavior. And that's not going to be a good thing for you. And then we have to look at the moment where we say, okay, this relationship has taken enough from me and I'm done with it, right? And then that's when you decide, I want to change the tone. Now, when you decide that this relationship no longer is good for you, is no longer good for you, you will see resistance. All of a sudden, you've changed. Who are you? You didn't used to do this. Well, yeah, because I used to just give everything to you. I used to just go with your flow. But when you decide that this is no longer okay, that you're trying to take back your energy, that you're trying to pull back from them, because sometimes we just have to cut relationships off. Doesn't mean we don't love them. Doesn't mean we don't care. What it means is their energy and whatever's happening with them no longer vibes with yours. And you have to preserve yours. You're first. You're at the top of your list. So you have to preserve that. And I think it's difficult for us to do that with relationships that we've had for a long time. And so we have to look at, let's start, I always use family as an example, because I think that's some of the toughest relationships that we have that are toxic, that we cannot move from, or our family relationships. And they're family, and they'll be there, but we're not obligated to absorb everything that they give us because they are family. We have to say, this is not okay. Everybody in your life you need to have boundaries with. Everyone, from your mother to your sister, your brother, your cousins, your aunts, your children. You have to have boundaries with everyone, because even though they're family, they do not get free reign to just say and do anything and manipulate you and take from you. And well, I can treat you like that because I'm family, and that's not okay. And then when we look at like our intimate relationships, we invest in them, especially if we've been in them for a long time. And so sometimes it's really hard to pull ourselves out of those relationships, because again, we've got our feelings and our emotions mixed into it. We've got our heart mixed into it. And so we have to take a step back. So what do you do first? I think the first thing is we've got to identify that these relationships are toxic. So you have to sit with yourself, and you have to kind of just evaluate your relationships. Which ones are the most draining for me? Which are the ones that leave me feeling empty? Which are the hardest ones to have like a conversation with or an interaction with? And then look at why. Is this person, is it their behavior? Is it what about the situation makes you feel depleted and drained? And then can we do something about it? Sometimes we can approach each other and have a conversation, and then we can actually have growth and change, right? They can be receptive. They can, maybe they weren't aware of that behavior, but when you make them aware, some people can actually do something about it. And then some relationships, they can't. Some relationships, the reality is you need to walk away. You have to let them go. And it's hard to do that, but I think once you remember what it's doing to you, but also remembering that, like, I have to be first. I have to be at the top of my list. And if this relationship is taking so much from me that I have very little to give to other people who want to be in my life and who want to be present and who want to pour into me, then you have to make that decision. And so, again, we know it's difficult. Toxic relationships are difficult. We didn't get into them overnight. But I want you to identify them, figure out if you can do something with them, if the person would be receptive to having a conversation with you. And if not, we have to learn how to let go. You have to do it for you. I think sometimes we hold on to people because we don't want to say we're by ourselves, or we want to have them present. But is it worth it? So ask yourself, is it worth it? And then ask yourself, how much am I giving? And start to take it back, one step at a time. So hopefully this helps you. This helps you identify some relationships that maybe you need to work on, maybe you need to get rid of. But pay attention to what it's doing to you and how much you're giving, and is it worth being in your life?